Now we'll be talking about another crucial topic, how to make your conference international. İlkay, Deniz, BİLGİÇ will explain us. Let me read her bio. My name is İlkay Deniz BİLGİÇ and I'm a junior psychology student at MUN. I graduated from Tan Anatolian High School in Bursa. My MUN journey has started at 2013 through MUN club of my high school. For the last 7 years, I've attended more than 20 domestic and international MUN conferences as a delegate, chairperson, and academic team member. I have provided training on MUN and led MUN teams. Last year, I led the MUN club of MUN and I'm the member of Eurasia, which is the one and only European Union simulation organized in Turkey. Currently, I'm the Secretary General of Eurosima 2020. So, Ms. Deniz, stage is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you so much for the biography too. I hope you're able to see the presentation. Is that right?
Yes, it's
okay. That's great. All right. So first of all, good morning. Good morning, everyone. When I have led an eye onto the names, I have seen a lot of familiar names, and for the unfamiliar names, nice to meet you. You've heard my background, and today I'm here to deliver you a presentation regarding how to make your conference international. So here you could see the content. We will be covering the total of 6 points. First of all, I will be answering the question, why do my conference needs international participants in the first place? Then we will be covering up the question of, are we really that different as Turkish delegations and MUN conferences from international students? Then thirdly, I will be moving on with the expectations of international participants from your conference. Then I will be covering where to start, what to do and what not to do. And lastly, I will be covering important points that shouldn't be missed. And at the end, I will be covering any and all questions if you have. So first of all, a very fundamental and basic question that will pop up in your mind when you think about international participants. Why do my conference need them? So there is actually a simple answer, actually a numerous of them. First and foremost reason why you need them is increased diversity. When you have a closer look to the participant pool of regular local MUN conferences, you would typically see 2 types of participants. First, probably first-timer high school participants, and secondly, Turkish local university students. But if your conference could attract the attention of international participants, then your diversity will increase, and most importantly, your quality of debates will increase at a fast pace. Because let's take the example for yourself. Let's imagine that you're a Turkish MUNer. Then you decide to go to abroad for a foreign conference. What would you do? You would probably give your best to study for that conference, give your best to study your study guide, give your best to increase your debate quality until you go there, which means that eventually when those foreigners come to your conference in Turkey, the same will apply and your quality of debates will increase at a fast pace. And then thirdly, your reputation will increase. You could just have an example for yourself too. For example, in this platform, MUN Turkey, you have been seeing a lot of conferences. There are a lot of them. But how about their reputation? What element could increase the reputation of your conference in your eyes? A very simple answer, international delegations. And then extended network for future. It might be for individual purposes as an organizer of an MUN conference or for the network of the conference as a whole. When you build trust and when you extend your network via connecting with foreign delegations and foreign delegates, you extend your network, and this trust that you have built and extended network will go on for years and maybe next 5 or 10 editions for your conference. And lastly, possible partnerships and sponsorships. So at this point, it would be a very untrustful for me to tell you that, okay, in your first attempt, you will be able to get a lot of foreigner delegations into your conference, but that's not true. But what you can do is building partnerships or trying to get sponsorships from foreign universities for university teams or individualistic delegations. Then secondly, are we really that different? So I know that most of you wait for an answer of no to this question, but surprisingly, yes. So at this point, I can only give you some information based upon my experience, which is based upon mostly European conferences, just to point that out there. So yes, we are very different actually. So first and foremost, there is a big difference between our perceptions regarding MUN. In foreign MUN clubs and universities, MUN is more seen as a tool for learning and increasing their debating skills and, of course, their view upon the world. Actually, the same applies to us too, but there is a very big difference. So for most of the time, European delegations have no problem of improving their English because they are already university students and they already have a very good command of English. But when it comes to us, we mostly spare our time to improve our foreign language skills and then move on with increasing our debate quality. Secondly, like differences in participants. So as far as I've observed in foreign countries, the consistency of MUN teams is mostly consists upon university students. But when it comes to us, we have the majority of participant pool is made by high school students. And thirdly, differences in debate quality. So as I have mentioned in the last slide too, the debate quality of foreign participants is mostly higher because, as I have mentioned, they don't have to pay attention to their language skills at all. At this point, I'm not saying that Turkish debate quality is lower than the foreigner participants. Of course not. We have a lot of good debaters, etc. But just that they have there are more advantages when it comes to this side. And fourthly, differences in social events. As I mentioned, like foreigner participants mostly see MUN as an education tool, so that's why they mostly use their evenings as a relaxation time. So that's why when you go to foreigner conferences, mostly you could see gala dinners or pub crawls, a very like calming pub crawl in the evening, rather than our expectation of social events such as going to a club and partying. And lastly, differences in monetary issues. So at this point, like we all could understand why this is a difference because, for example, in Germany, a regular MUN fee is at most 45 euros, and 2 years ago it was even less. But when you speak to an international participant and tell him that, okay, I want you to come to my conference, but I want you to pay 350 Turkish liras, which might be very less in euros, but plus you will be paying for your accommodation, and plus you will be paying for your airfares, etc. At this point, things start to change a little bit. So, and it constitutes to a great difference. So thirdly, expectations of international participants. First of all, they expect a conference with high quality, a benefit that will equal to their cost. So it is actually a rule that I really like and really would like to share with you because you could just apply this to any point of your lives. So when people make a choice, they always make the calculation of cost benefit in their mind. So if you would like to attract the attention of international participants, while you decrease the cost, you have to increase the benefit. So the cost that I'm talking here doesn't have to be in monetary terms. So for an international participant, a cost of coming to your country, coming to your conference is having the application process, paying the fee, arranging the flights, arranging the accommodation, etc. These are all costs. But what should be the benefit? The benefit will be the reputation of your conference and the joy that they will get out of here, and maybe the trip that you will be managing for them to see the country that they will be coming in. And secondly, a conference that is prepared professionally. Like, let's just think for yourself. Let's assume that you're going to abroad. You're going to, for example, United Kingdom for a conference. You would expect a professionally prepared conference. And thirdly, high quality debates and monetary support from organizers such as reduction in fees, compensation for their spendings, etc. This is a very crucial point and maybe the biggest expectation of international participants, because personally, whenever my team in European Union Simulation in Ankara, or whenever I tried individually contact to one of my networks in abroad in order for them to come to our conference in Turkey, the first thing they ask is, are there any reduction in fees, or do you have any kind of extra compensation for us? So, and then we will be moving on with their expectation for a well-functioning PR team. So normally these people do not speak our language. So that's why from the point that they apply to your conference until the time they leave the closing ceremony, you have to assist them. You have to have a well-functioning PR team in order for these foreign people to come to your country, to well function in your conference, to have zero problems and leave your conference satisfied. And lastly, for most of the time, they want to see around, like have a trip. So at this point, I could recommend an organizers to have a pre-conference trip for their foreign participants. Both enhances their orientation to the country, to the context, and to you as organizers, as the academy and organization team and other Turkish delegates. And again, it just creates a great memorandum, and you just kind of create this connection, which will probably be very beneficial for you in your next editions when you again invite those delegations to your conference. So next, this is a very this is a very good question that should come to your mind at this point, because like you should do this, the situation is like this, but okay, so I get all these information, but where do I start as an organizer? So first step, set goals, revise and realistically understand your reputation as a conference, and know how to reflect yourself, and have a target delegate number. Because in these organizational matters in MUN, especially in the context of Turkey, you have to be realistical. Let's be realistic. Let's assume that you're organizing a conference. You have maximum of 100 participants, and this is your first edition. When you talk with a foreign participant or a team, MUN team, and tell them, we are this, these are our information, etc. We wholeheartedly invite you, etc., but there will be no compensation. They probably will not be coming to your conference. But this does not mean that if you put your target realistically, you cannot achieve them. I advise you to put a target on maximum of 10 delegates for your first year of inviting foreigners. And then if you could build trust and your reputation in your next editions, probably you won't have to even try to invite them because they will be already applying to your conference. Second step, prepare your PR team. Make sure that you have an interesting email or message template to send, and have a list of possible MUN teams that can potentially come to your conference. So at this point, I have always been like talking about being realistic, and so this rule applies to here exactly, because let's assume that you're organizing an MUN. For example, I would not spend my time a lot for inviting a delegation in United Kingdom or America, but maybe nearer countries such as German delegates, or like Greek delegates, etc. So you also have to think geographically at this point. You have to have a list of potential MUN teams that could come to your conference, from the most relevant to the least. And third step, use your network. If you know an international participant that you have already met in person, contact them. And it is definitely more effective than sending a pre-prepared template to emails, because word of mouth takes a lot of time, but it is very effective when it comes to having international participants, because the same effort that you will spend for sending a lot of emails to a lot of MUN teams, rather than talking directly to the person that you know, will have more and more effect. And the fourth step is pay attention to building trust during and after the conference. So let's assume that you have invited a team, you took their application, like they have paid their fees. Do not leave it there. It doesn't mean that, okay, the delegation will come and everything will be perfect. No, of course they will come, and of course you will do your best, but pay attention to build trust between your conference and that delegation throughout the conference and maybe after the conference. Do not just leave their messages or questions or emails unanswered just because our conference has ended. So what to do and what not to do at this point. So do plan the future. How many delegates am I targeting? How many emails I would like to send? To where? To when? And what is the process? Have they answered? If they have answered, were they affirmative or negative, and etc. Do perfect your conditions. At this point, I would like to highlight a very important difference. Your conditions doesn't have to be perfect, but you have to perfect your conditions for international participants. And do network. For example, until this point, I've always talked about like foreigner delegates coming to your country, but of course, if you're a MUN team that has the ability, you could also go to their conference and network. And this might be the hardest, but maybe the most effective networking way, because if you go to their conference, they will probably come to yours. And do solve possible problems. So in order for solving problems, they doesn't have to be existent at the first place. Plan, think about the possible problems. For example, the problem of language, the problem of like international transfer fees, etc. And what I advise is have at least one specific person in your PR team to specifically taking care of international delegations if you have any. So what are the don'ts? Do not discriminate and do not underestimate when foreigners come to your conference. This is, well, at this point, you should have in mind that you're not only representing your conference, but also you're representing your country. So just the same as in tourism. So that's why do not discriminate and do not underestimate the potential of those delegates. And do not leave anything to chance. So at this point, I'm just coming back to the same point, but let's assume that you have sent an email inviting that delegate to your conference. Just do not assume that that email has been read and heard and understood correctly by other part. Send another email, like, have you seen this email? Or let's assume that you have individually contacted one of your networks and that person said, okay, your conference is great and I will let my friends know about it. Just do not assume that that person has let his friends know about your conference. Send another text message. We could have these kind of reduction fees, etc. We could compensate for your these and these payings, blah, blah, blah. So before wrapping up everything, I would like to talk about important points that shouldn't be missed when trying to transforming your conference into an international one. The fundamental point is what I have just talked about, cost and benefits. Just empathize with foreign participants and try to think like them. Okay. For example, I'm a German delegate. I will be going to Turkey for this conference. What are my costs? What are my benefits? Maintain the smoothness of all procedures from the application until the last day. Plan a special budget from the beginning for the reduction fees and compensations. Respect, show interest, and show hospitality. And it's a reciprocal process, which means that if you go to their conference, they will probably come to yours. Or if you show respect and interest and maintain a good environment for those people in your conference, they will probably respond with their best within their feedbacks or for their future actions. Do not forget the importance of orientation. It might be a pre-conference trip, or it might be even a session of warming up. And do build partnerships, because partnerships are your windows through the future for your conference, and partnerships build trust, which will eventually come very handful for your further editions. So this was the end of my presentations. If you have any questions, I will be more than glad to answer them. And thank you so much for listening. And this is my email address that you're seeing. You might anytime reach me if you have any questions or so. Yeah.
So thank you very much for your presentation. Last 1 minute and we have one question. How do we publicize our conference? Which platforms should we use and how?
Okay, a very beneficial platform that you could use besides like MUN Turkey is mymun.com. The mymun.com has been around for more than a decade. Like I remember the first time that I have started like doing MUNs, it was around, and its database is so huge. And if you could get your conference be saved to that website, then foreign participants and their application process just gets easier, and you could attract and you could publicize your conference in that platform. This is the best one that has just popped up in my mind. And the second thing is just be careful about your social media engagements and social media publicity. Being active and staying informative as much as you can do is the best way to publicize yourself. And maybe you could also invest in advertisements via Instagram and Facebook to push up your posts to the audience.
So thank you very much for your answer and also for your presentation. So hope to see you in the next session.
Thank you so much.